to Unsightly Opinions. If you're new, my name's Tamara, and today I will be finally doing my response to the blindness tag, do all blind people think the same? This video was originally, I believe, a Jubilee video talking about the spectrum of experiences for people who are blind. I was tagged, so I'm going to be doing my response today. I will be tagging 3 people at the end, and I would encourage you to go through and watch other people's responses. All you have to type in is, do all blind people think the same? And there's hundreds of different responses. So without further ado, let's dive in. How this works is I'm going to be given a number of statements, and I am going to have to agree or disagree and tell you to what extent that is and give my reasoning for each statement. Statement number 1. Being blind has enhanced my other senses. I somewhat agree with that statement. I don't have the experience of knowing what it's like to be fully sighted, so I don't have anything to compare it to because I have always been legally blind. That being said, I do feel that when one of your senses isn't as strong, you use the others to try and make up for that in some way. You learn different skills, different coping habits, and just like anything, you learn to use what you have to your advantage. So I will use my ears to orient in space. I will use my nose to locate certain things. For example, I always know when I've hit the food court in our mall because I can smell the senseo. So while I don't know to what extent everyone has that experience, I do know that once you lose one sense, you do use your others to accommodate for that. Statement number 2, I prefer to date other blind people. I feel entirely neutral about this statement. I've dated people who are sighted, I've dated people who are blind, I've dated people who have had a number of different disabilities. For me, I think the experience is more one to look for who the person is as an individual. When you share a disability, there is definitely a level of camaraderie or a shared experience, and that can be very nice. But it's not all that a relationship is. You are more than your disability. So for me, it's the person, not who they are or what their labels are. Statement number 3, I am less shallow about romantic partners. Again, I don't know how to answer this question. I don't believe I am any less shallow than anyone else. There are physical traits that I'm attracted to. There are physical traits that I'm not attracted to. While I may not be able to immediately judge someone based on appearance, I will learn over time who that person is. For me, the fundamental part of who a person is I love their personality and I love to understand how they think. If they're a creative thinker, if they're off the wall, if they can keep me interested in conversation, that's what keeps my attention and that's what most attracts me. But again, I think that's different for every person. There are physical features I do love, there's physical features I don't, and it would really depend on the person. Statement number 4, unsolicited help makes things harder. The reason why I somewhat agree with that statement is because I have been put in a lot of really dangerous situations where somebody has, in an effort to, quote, help me, really put me in danger. They've tried to take my cane away from me. They've tried to pull me by my dog. I've been pulled into the middle of an intersection, into oncoming traffic, and the list goes on and on and on, but that's beyond the scope of this video. It can be more difficult when people maybe don't know how to help or don't know when to help. I think I'm going to refer you to the 5 things never to do when you meet a blind person video. It's going to be linked in a tag above, because I go into a lot of detail talking about when it's not okay to help somebody. While I think that it's really important to ask if somebody needs help, especially if you see that it looks like they're struggling, always ask them if they need help, number 1, and 2, ask them how you can help them, because they are going to be in the best position to tell you what's going to be the most helpful to them in that moment. Statement number 5, the city I live in is easily accessible for me. I have to strongly disagree with that statement. While we do have Uber and Lyft, those types of commuter transport are very expensive and generally cost prohibitive for most of the transport that I need to do on a day-to-day basis. I have to use our city transit, and because our city is so much of a sprawl, there isn't really a lot in terms of transit that makes it efficient. For most bus transit trips that I have to take, if it's 5 minutes in a car, it's likely going to be an hour or even longer on the bus. So I am eating up a large portion of my day sitting on buses commuting rather than actually doing the work that I need to. Not to mention that, but most of our intersections do not have audible crossing signals. We don't have tactile feedback on cut curbs. That is slowly improving. They are starting to do that on some curbs now, which I'm really happy about. But there is a lot of things in the city that I find really inaccessible. Statement number 6. I am offended when the term blind is used as one of my descriptive characteristics. I have to somewhat disagree with that statement. I am a blind girl. I laugh at myself. I make blind jokes. I do all kinds of things to make people feel more comfortable about my disability. I am not only blind, but if somebody knows me well and calls me that blind girl, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that descriptor because I, as an individual, know that that is not my only descriptor. I think blindness is my least interesting descriptor. It is not my only descriptor. I have 100 other characteristics that people will know about before they know that I'm blind. And most of the people in my life will introduce me as Tamara, not as that blind girl. I don't want people introducing me as that blind girl because that's not who I am. It is one of my characteristics. It's a strong part of who I am. It's a part that I always work to educate people on. It's an experience that I have that's rather unique. It's a lifestyle, but it's not the only part of who I am. So if you want to call me a blind girl, that's okay. That's what I am, but it's not all that I am. Statement number 7, being blind has affected my mental health. I have to strongly agree with that statement. I have gone through periods in my life where I have not been okay with my vision loss, where I have wished nothing but for a cure, where all I wanted was to be, quote, normal. All I wanted was to be someone other than who I am because I felt helpless in the situation that I was in that moment. While I don't feel that way now, it is difficult. And there is always a period of grief coming to terms with who you are and what you are and are not capable of. While I believe that I am capable of a great many things, I'm also not capable of a great many things. And it's a difficult adjustment period to learn to adapt to different situations. So when my vision got worse, I was very alone in that. I felt like I didn't have anybody that I could really talk to about that experience. I did have one blind friend, but my parents didn't want me talking to them very much, so it felt very isolating. Again, I have dealt with periods of depression and anxiety, thinking about what people think of me, how not to look like an idiot, how not to be a, quote, stereotypical blind person, and those are not productive thoughts to have. It took me a long time to come to terms with who I am, where I am, what I am, and I am proud of the person that I am today, but it has been a struggle to get here. Statement number 8, I have experienced discrimination. I have to strongly agree with that statement. I have had a number of different experiences over the years that have shown me that people are not necessarily the kindest, or maybe don't necessarily understand what blindness is or how to act around a blind person. I have been turned down for numerous jobs that I was well qualified for. I was the only applicant for. I have been told to leave stores because of my service dog. I have been denied service on Uber and Lyft more times than I can count because I use a service dog as my main mobility tool. And I will share just one example because it's the one that comes to mind as very blatantly discriminatory. When I was about 15 or 16, my friends and I went to the mall and I was looking for a foundation. Now, because I have albinism, obviously it's very difficult to match a skin tone when you are at the extreme ends of the skin tone spectrum. When I went in and spoke to the consultant at Sephora, I was told that they didn't have anything for me there. I should go to the dollar store and get some white face paint. That would better suit my needs. And while that statement may not immediately sound discriminatory, there was a tone of voice that told me that I was not welcome in that space. While I feel that was a very limited experience and it took me a long time to go back to Sephora, I have not had that experience since. And I hope that that person learned to be a little more welcoming to people who maybe don't have easily met needs. When I was at school, I felt discriminated, especially in post-secondary, because I was told that I would not be able to take the courses that I wanted to take. I should take a much easier arts degree because that was easier to accommodate. So it felt limiting many times, but that's well beyond what I want to talk about today. I think that what those experiences have taught me is how to advocate, how to speak up when things aren't right, not only for myself, but for others, and how to get by and try and educate people on what is appropriate behavior and responses. Number 9, if I could regain my sight with a cure, I would want to. I have to disagree with that statement. While I would never entirely rule out the possibility, I don't think I would very easily accept a cure for my vision loss. It is something I have lived with my entire life, and it's taken me a long time to accept and love who I am. For me, in the place that I am right now, it would almost feel like a step backwards to be looking for a cure, to be trying to do something differently, because there is nothing available. I love who I am, and I've learned how to deal with my vision loss, and I can do so many wonderful things. And it's such a fundamental part of who I am now that I don't know at this point in my life if it would be worth entirely relearning how to do things, how to read, how to drive, how to do all of these skills that I have learned how to do a different way. So I've got Braille and screen readers, I've got my guide dog, I've got lots of tools in my arsenal that help me deal with my vision loss on a day-to-day basis, and I love who I am right now, and I wouldn't change that for anything. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I would encourage you to check out other blind people's responses because this is just my response to these statements. We have a spectrum of experiences in the blindness community, and I want to represent all of those experiences. So I will link a few of my favorites down in the description box below, and I will be tagging Third Eye Visions, Aleatha's Humble Life, and Dani Marie AUC for this tag. If you want to keep up with me in between uploads, I have an accessible Twitch stream now on Sunday nights with maybe some bonus streams coming up very soon, 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, and I have my other social media accounts linked in the description. You can check them out there. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.